Hello, everyone. It is 4:41 in the morning. I'm Erin.
I'm Mike.
I'm Kyle.
And tonight on the Sleepy Nerds podcast, Mike channels David Bowie through his nostrils.
How you guys doing tonight?
All right.
Yeah.
Not as tired as normal.
Speak for yourself.
I was.
I ate a lot of snacks before the recording and my stomach hurts really bad.
Oh, I ate a lot of cookies, so maybe I'm just full of sugar, and halfway through I'll crash.
I have super upset tummy though.
The second half of this podcast is just going to be Kyle vomiting into a trash can.
Tonight on the Grumbly Tummy podcast.
The Sleepy Nerds Peakcast,
Yeah.
as you said.
Yeah.
It does super well in certain markets.
A very, very specific market.
It's just our podcast and then just German scat porn.
Kyle.
What's up?
There's
Okay.
no way to segue from that to our topic. Tonight we're going to talk about musical episodes of TV shows. So I guess if you can throw up lyrically enough. We
Yeah,
can
you've never
include
done that?
Yeah.
It's all right.
So we have wanted to do a musical episode for a while. By which I mean I've wanted to do a musical episode for a while.
I think we bounced back and forth on like the specific topic though, because I was like thinking, oh, like nerdy music.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. There's nerdy music. There's just musicals, which I am a nerd about. Yeah. There's like music within nerdy properties. So tonight we're narrowing our focus to TV shows that had like a singing episode that we liked.
This will probably just be the first of many music-related episodes because
sure it
there are
will.
so many music
I hope so.
topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us in the
Music
comments
related.
like what specific music topic you'd like us to tackle next, because we have like 20 different ideas and don't know which way to go.
I really hope they pick resurgence of 80s synth pop music.
And they won't. Don't worry about it.
And they're all Kyle's friends, so they might.
I know they're all voting against me in a goddamn.
They're not all voting against you. It was 50-50, and my mom cast a vote that tipped it in my favor.
I'm gonna fight your mom.
With like, aren't there like 4 hours to go or something? It's like almost done.
It's almost done.
Yeah.
Right. We'll say.
So who would like to talk first about their musical episode?
I mean, since it's your topic, you're most excited about it. I think you can start.
Okay. I want to talk about. There were many to choose from.
I had a same problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are certain things that like when a certain trope shows up or something like that, you just like immediately like that. That's musical episodes for me. Like any show that has a musical episode, I'm immediately like, I'm on board with this, like no matter what it is. But I went with.
I hope there's a Swamp People musical eventually. Then you're gonna fucking eat your own words.
I'll have to get into Swamp People.
Gotta get that gator. Gonna eat that gator. Ladies and gentlemen, the Swamp Thing musical. Or Swamp People musical.
I'd be fucking all over Swamp Thing musical.
Swamp Thing, yeah.
We're not talking about your topic anymore.
Swamp Thing musical, okay. Swamp People musical, not so much.
Okay, now we have to record 2 episodes tonight. The second one is just going to be our ideas for a Swamp Thing musical. So, my favorite musical episode of a TV show is the Scrubs musical episode, My Musical.
Nice.
Scrubs was a great show until it wasn't, but it was mostly for 7 seasons or something. It was a great show. And again, I like any musical episode. I thought that they covered a lot of, I guess, genres of music. They covered a lot of emotional range. There were like actually some like touching, sweet songs in it. And then there was Everything Comes Down to Poo. So like they ran the gamut there. I like in a musical episode that they give you just enough to explain it without going like super into detail with it. And they did it like it was based on like an actual medical study of a woman who like, I don't know if she had head trauma or like she had some kind of infection or something and started like hearing everyone speaking as singing.
What?
And that was like what they based it on. So they had like a patient in the show who like collapsed, and then she was like the one who sort of caused them, air quotes, to start singing. And they filmed it in such a way that like they were only singing when she was in the room. So they would have her like in a wheelchair, like being pushed across the background of a scene, and people would be talking normally, and then she'd like come into frame and they'd start singing what they were saying, and then
That's
she'd leave
crazy.
frame and they'd go back to talking.
Excellent.
So yeah, I think it was just like really well done.
Jess will get super mad at me, but I wrote down like worst episodes that were musicals, and there's a Grey's Anatomy
I was
episode.
gonna say, is there a Grey's
That's the
Anatomy?
exact thing.
Oh,
One
yeah?
of the characters gets in a car accident.
Yeah.
And has like head trauma, and then
Scrubs did it first.
everything's a musical after that.
Yeah. I think that's sort of a trope in itself, is just that, oh, I got bonked on the head, and like
Now
you
things are
either
crazy.
develop amnesia or hear everyone start singing, or
Or
you
you're-
have like a musical fantasy kind of thing.
Or you're in a coma and you have imagination.
I was gonna, yeah, or like, yeah, oh, it's now everything's a musical, but then it turns out they were, unconscious the whole
coma, yeah.
time. Yeah. So it was like a little bit more detailed than that, but it's like I don't need them to spend the first 10 minutes of a half-hour show talking about, why they're singing, but I like that they just have a little explanation. And I think it's like they had a story in the episode that was like about the woman who is sick or injured or whatever, but they also like had things that were relevant to the entire storyline of the show. They had the Guy Love song between Turk and JD. So it wasn't just like, oh, well, these are songs just not related to anything. And it wasn't like, oh, we made this plot just as an excuse to, make these songs about our characters. It was sort of a nice mixture.
That's probably my least favorite thing that musical episodes do, is the ones that have no purpose other than to like exist outside of the main storyline.
Yeah.
And to just have it be a musical episode.
Yeah.
It's really annoying to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a gigantic. There's musicals I like, but overall, I'm not a giant fan of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just maybe for that reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree.
I get that.
But
That's all I have to say about Scrubs.
uh,
Great show. Great musical episode of that show.
I had it written down, but I haven't seen it in so long that I didn't feel comfortable defending it or talking about why I
Yeah.
liked it. I'm like, I remember it being funny, like most of Scrubs, until the final season.
Oh, yeah.
That usually happens with shows.
Well, they had
Good
a
shows
weird...
are good for a while, and then they just kind of tank.
I can't remember the numbering, but Scrubs had a weird thing where, like, they thought they might be canceled. So they ended, like, let's say, like, season 7... Like, the finale of it is, like, it could have been the finale,
Yeah.
but then they got renewed.
Yeah, season 8 was the interns, yeah.
No, season 8 was then, like, it kept going, and then they had another finale, and then they had a, like, sort of spin-off, sort of not really, and that was the interns. And
Was
it was,
that
like...
season 9?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. And I think they called it, like, Scrubs Medical School or something. They gave it a different name. But it was, like, I think in the season between is when they, like, killed Laverne and then brought her back as, like they killed off that character who was, like, a recurring character for the entire series in a car crash, I think. And then they brought the actress back, but they were like, oh, she's unrelated. She's just, like, a random nurse who happens to look exactly like her. And JD...
It's her twin sister.
Yeah, and JD called her
Laverne.
Laverne again. He was like, oh, she's Laverne again because she looks just like Laverne. I'm like, is that how you're talking about your, like, recently deceased dear friend and coworker? Is just like, haha, you look like her. And it was just like, it was dumb. They did a lot of dumb stuff.
After one of us dies, how long do you think it'll be before we make a disparaging joke about that person?
How long is it usually between a death and a funeral? Because
Well,
I have
I
some
don't-
plans for your eulogy, Kyle.
I don't want a funeral, so.
Kyle, I'm giving you a funeral.
I want to be Weekend at Bernie's. Just
I wanna
like,
steal.
prop me around.
I want a sky burial.
What?
That's where my body's dragged to the top of a mountain, and then birds are just allowed to eat my body.
As long as I don't have to, like, can we, like, drive it up the mountain or something? Do I have to drag it?
I want it dragged.
Okay, well, your wife and kids can be in charge of that then.
I mean,
I'm
Can we
not
just shoot you
dragging
into
your dead
space
body
like
anywhere.
Spock?
I wish. I wish I could do that alive.
Yeah, but not in any sort of spaceship, just like your body, just like
Yeah.
fired.
Yeah,
in a
that's what happened
cannon
with
out.
Spock.
Like one of those like pumpkin.
He was in like a little like coffin-y thing, wasn't he?
No.
No, like one of those like pumpkin trebuchets they have that like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on a much larger scale.
No, Spock was just like wrapped like a mummy, and then they just shot his body into space.
Guys,
Yeah.
why are we talking about
Right?
this? What did we?
I don't know. We took a hard tangent.
Yeah, I don't.
We were talking about the idea of dying, and I just took my opportunity.
Oh, it was about Laverne dying on
Yeah.
Scrubs. So anyway, yeah, like Scrubs is among the many shows that was like, oh, it was really, really good, and then like after this season, just don't watch it anymore because it was like they just got super dumb.
If you don't mind, I'm going to segue because I have plenty of connective tissue there between a musical that worked within the plot of its own show and got terrible in later seasons. The Buffy musical.
I knew you were gonna go for that.
I had a few written down. I had either the Community musical episode.
That was like my
Yeah.
second choice too. Yeah.
It's Always Sunny. And then
And
and then the Teen Titans. go.
I didn't know they had a musical episode either.
They did. It was all based on Night Begins to Shine.
Before you begin on your Buffy thing, I want to say, to prove my earlier point, I literally started watching Buffy years after the series had ended because I heard that they had a musical episode. Like, one of my friends was like driving and one of the songs from the episode came on and they were like, oh, this is from Buffy, and was like explaining it to me. I'm like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
But I also stopped watching Buffy before I got to that episode. Is this like 6 seasons in or something?
I think that's season 7.
Yeah.
I remember season
didn't
7
get that
being
far.
like super terrible, except maybe for that.
Yeah, I didn't get that far.
Season 7 was not great.
Anyway.
Anyway.
With one exception.
So the musical was Once More with Feeling, and I liked it because it was explicitly within the world of the show. Like, it was Dawn, Buffy's sister, summons a demon on accident.
Sure, as one does.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go
And
for it.
well, she summons a demon for 2 of the other characters, Xander and Anya, their wedding. She like summons a demon to like liven up the party. Because she's like, oh,
As one does.
It'll be like musical, it'll be like cute, and like people will be like singing and dancing. But what happens is everyone sings their feeling, like they'll sing a song to each other, where they're revealing all their like innermost secrets. 'Cause that's what you do in musicals. And then right after, they're like, I can't believe you fucking think that way about me.
Yeah.
And like, I really enjoyed that. And it was actually advancing the plot of the story within the songs. And all the songs were actually really catchy, except for maybe 2 of them.
Okay.
There was 2 of the characters, what the fuck's her name? Tara and Willow.
Okay.
It was like a really awkward, weird song that was terrible. And then Dawn had like 5 seconds of a song before they knocked her out. I think just because they knew.
Yeah.
But no, I like that it didn't. Buffy was like, most of Buffy was so story driven. Like, there was a few Monster of the Week episodes, but as the show got on
Yeah.
in the later seasons, almost every episode, at least a little bit, would try to like advance the further storyline. And Buffy did a really good job in the musical with that. But it didn't only advance the story, but like advance a lot of the emotional story arcs too, because it was characters that had been hiding things from like all season 1, and then like sometimes like from previous seasons, like holdover. All of a sudden, they were just like expelling every secret they had about each other, every feeling they had about each other. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I like that. That's sort of like a new take on like a truth serum kind of thing. It's like, oh, how can we get this like dark secret out? Oh, we can
Demon.
like curse him to tell the truth or something. Like, oh, or he has to sing it. Like, that's interesting.
And also,
Demon
like,
musical.
everyone is actually like a really talented singer too.
Yeah.
It turned out. I think most of them.
That's always dicey too. In a show where there isn't usually singing, and suddenly you're like, oh, let's have a musical episode. Like,
And then sometimes it doesn't sound anything like them. It's like,
Well, it's like,
yeah, you're like, let's hire someone to
The
do
actor
their-
that played Giles, Anthony Stewart Head's actually he's like an established musician
He's great.
and has like he's awesome.
I love Anthony.
I don't know if Sarah Michelle Gellar did her own singing.
Yeah.
She might not have. And I know Alison Hannigan said she just wouldn't do it.
Oh,
So
yeah?
she has one line in the entire episode.
everything else is just.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just reminded me there was a Xena musical episode that I loved as a kid. I remember very little from it, but it was like Lucy Lawless's, whoever they got to do her singing was like, that sounds nothing like her.
Way
Like,
off.
who?
It sounds like a man.
Yeah, who is that? Well, it was the opposite. It was like a super like high soprano voice, and you're like,
Like,
that's
man, you
not
need
it.
Xeno as a baritone.
Yeah, yeah,
But
She's a bass.
yeah.
That is a Spaceball reference.
Anyway,
Anyway, no. Okay.
sorry. I remember like 5 things from Spaceballs.
I remember them combing the desert, and that's
Shit. Yeah. I remember that. I remember what did that guy have? Like the special.
Oh.
I remember that.
That's what I have.
oh, the chest
Oh,
burster.
yeah,
yeah,
the-
yeah, I
that
That
remember
is
has-
the
that.
fucking Michigan J Frog song.
Yeah, on the bar.
They actually got John Hurt to do that.
Is Michigan J Frog still around?
No, I don't think anybody knows.
We were
what that is
talking about
anymore.
references that would eventually die. We've been like talking about it all night.
I feel like I still see him on like Looney Tunes branding stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in years.
I haven't seen him since the W. Do you remember like WB stores used to be a thing?
Yeah.
Like he was like in a bunch of shit there, like stuffed animals and like
Yep.
picture frames. I haven't seen Michigan J Frog.
I haven't seen a
Anywhere.
WB store. I feel like that all
No.
died.
No, those are all gone. Yeah.
Those probably died around the time of Kids WB and
Like the
all that
90s,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Good times.
Man.
Maybe that should be just our next episode. Is that like
Michigan J Frog.
Yeah,
A requiem.
and the Swamp Thing musical.
Requiem for a frog. Goodbye, my baby.
That was better. Leave that one in.
Leave it all in. It's all great. It's all gold. God damn it.
Maybe silver. I don't know about gold. Gold plated, maybe.
What's your fucking musical, Mike? What's your episode?
So I was between two, and I couldn't pick. Well, I had trouble picking, but it was between the Futurama musical episode and the That 70s Show episode. And the only reason I would have picked what?
That 70s Show one was really good. I'd totally forgotten about that.
The only reason that I picked Futurama over That 70s Show, though, is because I watched the Futurama one so many times, and the really only thing that I felt was really cool about That 70s Show one is that they had Roger Daltrey as the music teacher.
Yeah.
That was cool, but I like... They weren't any like original songs. It was just all kind of like
all,
pop
like,
songs.
Jukebox
Glee
musical.
Yeah.
Jukebox, that's what I was
So
looking for. It's like whatever
that's
the fuck Glee is.
yeah.
was.
So that's why I went with the Futurama musical, just because it was all like original stuff, and like you said, it had an actual story that kind of progressed the story of like the overarching series a little bit. But so like I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like so basically Fry is trying to learn how to play this thing called the hollow recorder to impress Leela. And so, but he sucks at it because he's Fry. You know, he's just a pizza delivery boy from.
It's The Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings. Right?
Yeah, and so he makes a
episode.
deal with the robot devil, and he.
I love Robot Devil.
Yeah,
He's the best Futurama character besides Santa.
Yeah. So
was that the episode with his song,
Oh,
or
Evil
was that
Santa.
on a different one?
which one?
The one where the robot devil has the song about robot hell.
Yeah,
Is it the same one?
yeah.
Okay, it's been a while since I've seen it.
Great fucking song.
No, but like
I know every word of that song.
the best part of that is like the devil tries to trick Fry. Like he puts Bender's face on the like he says, "I'll spin this wheel and you can have any robot's hands that are on the wheel." And like it goes around and around and around. And it looks like it's about to land on Bender, and then at the last second it ticks over and lands on the robot devil. And the robot devil's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
It's like, how am I on there? Whatever.
Yeah.
And so like Fry gets the robot devil's hands, and they're great, and he learns to play the hollow recorder, and he becomes this big star. And
He
it's
writes
like,
an opera.
yeah, he writes an original opera about Leela to impress her. Meanwhile, the whole episode, the robot devil's trying to get his hands back because Fry's hands keep like touching him, and he's like,
Yeah.
"These keep touching me.
Yeah.
I want my hands
Oh,
back."
that also has like one of my favorite lines. I forgot it was from that episode. The robot devil bursts in while the opera is like being presented, and like everyone, all the characters are just like, "Oh, Leela, I love you," and he's like, "You can't just have your characters say exactly how they feel. That makes me angry." I have quoted that so many times.
The whole thing is great because like when that scene in Fry's opera comes, when he's like, he puts in the opera how he's making the deal with the robot devil to get the hands. He just makes the robot devil look such an idiot.
Yeah.
The robot devil gets pissed off and like basically kicks the play version of himself like off the stage and like he did this thing where he made a deal with Bender to make him even more annoying. So like he takes Bender's ass plate and instead gives him like an air horn attached to his nose.
I forgot about that
So
too.
Bender
Yeah.
just goes around trying to show people how annoying he could be. And in the process, he blows the air horn in Leela's face, and she ends up becoming deaf like the day before the opera.
Yeah.
So she can't hear anything, so she has to make a deal with the robot devil so she could hear, so she gets robot ears.
Mike, did you write this episode?
No, I've just watched it so many times. Like I've been watching it for years. Like, Futurama is one of those shows where like if I don't know what to watch on Netflix, I'll just binge
Yeah.
Yeah,
it.
put on Futurama.
It's just like if that's ever on like cable, I'm scrolling through. I'll just stop and watch
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah.
But yeah, so Leela has to make a deal with the devil so she could hear the last part of, because like she's at the opera.
Yeah,
like,
written for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's sitting through the first half, and Amy's like holding up emotion cards, like with how she
Oh
should
yeah,
feel.
they're, like smiley
Amy,
tear. Yeah.
Amy, how should I feel right now?
Right.
And Amy just pulls out like flashcards, and then Leela starts crying. So she makes a deal with the devil so she could hear the second half, but the deal is like, "Oh, you want my hands?" So she's like, "Okay, whatever." So. Like, because, you know, obviously the robot devil doesn't want Fry's hands anymore. So, but little do they know that the contract is to give Leela her hand in marriage. And so, surprise.
My jaw just dropped.
So Fry's like, well, I don't want you to marry the robot devil, so you can take the robot hands back.
Right.
Like the robot devil cuts off Fry's hands with like a meat cleaver on stage. And
That's
like,
what does.
yeah, well, the funny part about that is like, there's no blood because I mean, obviously they're robot hands. But when they did the switch beforehand, like when they originally made the deal, like the robot devil just does some magic really
he
fast,
just
and
sort of shuffles his hands. There's like a cloud.
he
and,
does some, and their hands are gone. But this time around, he has to like cut off Fry's hands with a cleaver. It's like,
he has the less talented hands at that point,
Yeah.
so he couldn't. Makes sense.
so then they switch hands back, and Fry can't play the hollow recorder anymore, and everybody boos.
Yeah.
But Leela stays to listen, and
Yeah, it has a very sweet
yeah.
ending.
That has one of like the top. It's like a top 10, like heartbreaking, heartwarming Futurama ending.
Yeah.
Of which there are many.
Yeah.
I love that.
Up there with Luck
Jurassic
of the
Park.
Fryrish and
Jurassic
Jurassic
Park,
Park.
yeah. Except when they ruined that episode with a later episode.
Yeah, well,
Fucking
I haven't watched a lot of since they brought it back. And
Comedy
canceled it
Central
again.
era.
I've only
Yeah.
Comedy
seen
Central
like,
era. Was,
It wasn't horrible. Futurama is another one of those shows where it had so many different ending points because they didn't know if it was coming back or not.
yeah.
But no, my favorite part of the musical part episode isn't even like a musical part. It's like the Paperboy. It's like outside of the event hall, like at intermission. He's like, "World's greatest opera is a smash hit." And then once like they do the hand switch and Fry sucks, he's like, "Breaking news: World's greatest opera sucks." It's like.
Yeah, I think that.
Both times he just had a stack of papers. Like,
Yeah.
did you print those yourself?
Yeah,
It's the future.
I think
So
that
why'd they have newspapers?
has a similar. That's a very good point. A similar thing to what I was saying about Scrubs, where it's like it has a lot of really good jokes and also then like has like emotional impact.
Yeah.
So it isn't all just like frivolous, like, oh, we're doing a musical episode, it's just fun. It is like it served as a finale for a long time.
Yeah.
And like was a really good like tight finale, and it had like that heartbreaking ending, and like there are just like points along the way where you're like, oh, I'm really invested in this story, but also ridiculous shit's happening.
As I think the best TV show musicals do.
Yeah.
A lot of
Agreed.
like ridiculous points, but again, like earlier, the Community musical.
Yeah.
I think it had some like very ridiculous points, but had some like also good like emotional beats in there as well.
That's one I must have watched that like 1,000 times.
Great.
Yeah.
Britta, me so Christmas.
Yeah. I like Annie's song that just devolves, the like sexy Christmas song.
Is this a bit? Yeah.
to the point where she's like, Wayne Hurdy, understand Christmas. And he's like, I think you hit a point of diminishing returns on the sexiness.
I have no idea what's going on right now. You
Oh, it's
guys
really
lost
good.
me.
It's like a Glee spoof where they have to like stand in for the show chorus or show choir or whatever.
what?
Like the Glee
On
Club on
Community?
Community.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they're like a
it's
Christmas
themed
pageant.
too, yeah.
Oh.
Like,
And they're slowly getting, and the like leader of the club is like a borderline like cult leader kind of thing, and he's slowly like indoctrinating each of them, and they're like going to convince each other in song.
So there's a cool like Rankin Bass like claymation moment. Is that Abed's?
Abed's Christmas Adventure was all claymation.
Oh,
We might be
Anyway.
talking about
That makes
different
yeah.
Christmas Community episodes.
possibly. I think that one. I think the musical one is the one with Troy singing about like not having Christmas.
Yeah, he does.
His
He does a
Jehovah's
rap
Witness,
about because he's going to go undercover as a Jehovah's Witness
Yeah.
and pretend to love Christmas and celebrate it, but actually he's going to assassinate Santa.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Good stuff.
Oh, what
Are there
the
any
fuck?
TV shows that didn't have musical episodes that you wish did?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's inevitable.
Yeah,
I mean,
gonna-
it's still on air, yeah. So like, I want that so much.
Arrow. No, I'm just kidding. It'd be like it's just a whole like dark,
Great.
depressing.
God, it'd be
musical
all fucking like
episode.
new metal music from like mid 2000s.
Well,
Like,
Flash
is
hasn't,
Korn still around? Korn could use that soundtrack.
hasn't Flash had more than one musical episode?
No, just the one.
No, they just had one where they like went to karaoke or something, and
no, they-
Caitlin and Barry did karaoke in one episode,
Yeah.
and then they had
Oh.
like a full musical episode with
Yeah, with
the
Supergirl,
Supergirl.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they were both from Glee. Yeah.
They also they
which I
had
don't
like
know.
a semi musical thing when like Flash went to Other Earth and like Joe was a lounge singer
Mm. Oh,
or something
yeah.
like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I don't really count
Stupid.
that as a musical episode, like,
No.
No.
but yeah, like just the one official music episode. Like
It
they
took,
called
like-
it Duet, I think was the name of the episode.
Yeah, it was a duet. It's
Yeah,
like
'cause Music
when.
Meister.
How can you call it like? At what point do you label
Speaking
something
of which,
a musical episode?
Batman Brave and the Bold, great musical
That was
episode.
a good episode.
Yeah,
Oh, I
with
haven't
with
seen
Music
that one.
Meister.
With fucking Neil Patrick Harris as Music Meister.
Yeah,
Now I got to go watch
It's
that.
yeah. I've only seen 2 episodes of Batman Brave and the
Batman
Bold. That's
Brave
one
and the
of them.
Bold is amazing. People like shit on that show like they shit on Teen Titans Go.
No, I've heard it's good.
But
I just haven't.
it
had a
was-
chance to
it was
watch
really
I think
good.
I've seen maybe an episode or 2.
And it had my favorite version of Aquaman.
I was gonna say
Oh.
I like that show for the characterization of Aquaman.
Aha!
Yeah, he's just
Well, that's how he should be characterized. Just like
Yeah.
a bored king that hangs out the Justice League because he's bored of being a
Yeah.
king.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. But no, back to musicals. That's like, at what point do you like? Can you call an episode like the musical episode of a show?
yeah.
Like
I think it is versus like having a song or like a song and a reprise of that song versus like the entire episode is like peppered with songs.
Yeah, it's got to be more than just one version.
Because there's an Arrested Development episode where Tobias stages a Fantastic Four musical.
Go on.
It also has my favorite line of dialogue from almost the entire series, where Tobias, they changed the community where he lives to just be sex offenders,
Okay.
and they set up like a Chris Hansen type guy in his house, and Tobias he's dressed as the Thing, and he's coming home to his daughter maybe, and he's like, is there a little girl here who's gonna help Daddy get his rocks off?
Oh God!
God.
Oh my God!
That's your favorite line of dialogue, you said.
One of them.
Kyle,
Good
2018. This is my favorite line of dialogue in any media.
Top 10.
Other shows that like need a musical episode.
Agents of Shield. I'd like to see an Agents of Shield one.
Yeah. You're just naming superhero shows now.
Yeah, but I think out of all of them that are out right now, other than Flash and Supergirl, like I think Agents of Shield has the best bet of doing one.
I seem to think
Arrow's too dark and brooding.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't think Shield's too like overtly dark and brooding? Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I feel like
think
they
that
could do
there's
it just because like I haven't watched a lot of Shield, like almost any.
I'm just-
but
I
since
just got caught up
since
recently.
they're like in space now, I feel like they could do that in like what we were saying, sort of like a brain control way or something. Like, oh, the station got taken over
Well,
by
I
an
mean,
alien.
I feel like-
Wait, how caught up are you? Before I start spoiling shit.
I
for you.
haven't seen anything from the new season. I feel like if there some of the early seasons might have been a good spot for it.
I mean, they spent like almost half a season inside a computer simulation.
yeah.
yeah,
Like that would have been the time to do it.
Yeah.
that's
but
true.
since it came back, I think like season 5, which is what it's in. No, season like 4 and onward, they've taken like a darker approach to the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think if a musical was going to happen, it would have happened already.
That's what I
Yeah.
was just saying. I think the early seasons were probably a better bet for it, but I don't think it's entirely out of the realm of possibility, especially since they just said that they don't have any ending in sight for it because they just wanted to keep going, right?
no.
Last I saw, they wanted
No,
to...
they've announced like the season finale of this season was filmed as a series finale.
Right, but I thought Disney said that they
No.
can't cancel it.
No, that was never a thing.
Oh.
That was a miscommunication.
Oh, well.
No, the season they want to do another season, but the season finale of the season is filmed as a series finale.
Oh, well, that sucks.
It does suck. It actually like started getting really good,
Yeah.
and now they're gonna fucking cancel it. So they could have Cloak and Dagger be a show.
Ugh.
That looks horrible.
Well, if it's any consolation, that'll only last a season maximum.
Yeah. I was going to say my show that I'm surprised hasn't had a musical would have been Riverdale,
Yeah.
but it's getting a
It's
musical
going
episode
one,
now.
yeah.
They're doing an adaptation of Carrie the musical.
What?
Carrie the movie.
They're making it into a musical?
They made it into a musical.
It was a musical
on Broadway.
on Broadway, and they're doing an adaptation of it for Riverdale, and I'm so fucking excited because that checks off so many of my interest.
That's like you're like, oh, I'm like into musicals sometimes, but not really. That's like, okay, this has enough of my other interests that like,
Well, it's like all the musicals I like. Like, if you were to name musicals you liked, I'm sure it's like Phantom of the Opera, like musicals people respect. Like all the musicals I like are like
so like the movies that you like.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like Evil Dead the musical, Cannibal the musical, Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors is
That's
great.
great.
Evil. I would see Evil Dead the musical.
It's
I
not
feel like
good.
that would be super fun.
There's a Toxic Avenger musical that just came out.
That just came out.
Yeah.
Who is that for?
Several people. At least
There-
12.
Yeah, there are dozens of us.
No, just a dozen.
I was gonna say you're talking about like not musical episodes, but episodes that have like a song in them or something. I think like a really good payoff to a setup like that was did you ever watch The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt season 2 or season 3?
No, I haven't gone that far. I'm behind on that show too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't care. Go for it.
spoilers. Daveed Diggs is in it, who was in Hamilton as Thomas Jefferson in Lafayette. And so, and is a very prolific rapper. And so he's a philosophy student. And he's talking the whole episode about I have to I'm giving this presentation to a class. I think he's a TA or something too. And so he's like, I'm giving this presentation to a class and I'm going to rap about philosophy. And she's like, oh, that's so cool, because of course she is. And so you're like, oh, well, this well-known rapper is going to do a rap about philosophy. It's going to be this really intricate. And then he goes up there and it's the equivalent of my name is Erin and I'm here to say, and it's just horribly cringingly bad. And he's knocking over the projector and stuff. And he's just
Excellent.
yeah, oh, Descartes, here we go. It's really good.
That's funny.
He's pretty good. I like him.
He is.
What's his rap group called again?
I don't know off the top of my head.
If I can forget. They're pretty good though.
I listened to some of their
That's
stuff,
all I
but
knew
not
him
in a
from.
while.
I know he
Yeah.
was in Hamilton, shit like that. But
All right, we get it. You're a hipster.
why
I
am
didn't know he was in this internationally famous musical that everyone's fucking heard of. I just know his.
But if
rap
you
group.
don't care about musicals,
Hamilton's
care?
pretty fucking big. I mean,
I know it's big,
2018.
but I don't care about it. I don't know who's in
Anyway.
it. I don't know. I know the fucking guy that wrote all the music for Moana
Yeah.
did it.
And
That's all I know.
he's married the new Mary Poppins.
He is. Yeah.
He's I feel tweeted or something
Do you
about
think he's going to play a Dick Van Dyke?
He's I'm going to murder that accent. You thought Dick Van Dyke's Cockney accent was bad. This is going to be terrible.
I tried to rewatch Mary Poppins recently, and that is a accent is a chore to get through.
Yep. It's work.
I don't know. Is he supposed to be Dick Van Dyke's character? I'm very confused. When is it supposed to take place?
I thought it was just supposed to be like a reboot or a remake of Mary Poppins, but then I
No.
read something that it's a different story.
It's called Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah.
Right,
So, is it a sequel? Is it the same kids? Or the kids grown up?
It's just
what the
it's
fuck
just
is
another
going
chimney
on?
sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw
This is a
yeah,
random ass.
I saw the
Mary Poppins has a type, man. She's a freak.
a chimney freak.
I saw the play, the musical.
No one?
No.
I'll
I saw
leave.
the musical version of on stage of Mary Poppins and liked it. I never liked that movie as a kid though.
Yeah.
It was I don't know what the message was supposed to be, because it seemed like
I don't think there was one.
Well, it seemed like Mary Poppins came
If
in
you
as
disobey your English nanny, she'll whisk you away to a nightmare cartoon world.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
it's
Dick Van Dyke will do step in time at you.
At you.
Yeah.
deal with cartoon penguins.
Yeah.
So the musical, the stage version, I should say, the mom wasn't doing anything. She was an actress who had retired, and so she was a stay-at-home. She just sort of didn't know how to get her kids under control, and also the dad wasn't supporting her when she's just okay, our kids are tyrants. He's just oh, whatever, you can handle it. Off
I
to
have
work.
to go to the bank.
Yeah, and the kids were much more like little hellions. So it was
totally different than the movie.
Yeah, it was more okay, I can see why Mary Poppins was needed and why she leaves at the end of Act 1 okay, if you kids don't want to behave and don't want to put in an effort, then
Fuck you then.
Yeah, I can't make you. So yeah, she fucks off into the sky with her umbrella and then she comes back. But
That didn't happen in the movie.
Is that
Yeah.
Simpsons?
Cherry Bobbins?
Yeah.
Where
Like
she
in
gets
the airplane?
sucked into a jet engine. Will we ever see her again, Dad? I'm sure we will, kids.
Do you remember when Simpsons was funny?
That's a great musical episode. I can't believe I didn't name that as mine.
Yeah.
Was the if you cut every corner, then it's really not so bad. See, there's an example. Great musical episode, great message.
All right. Erin, do you have a final segment?
I do have a final segment. So to keep with our musical theme, I am going to take over No Fucking Way, and it is temporarily retitled No Fucking Broadway. I'm doing finger guns, guys.
I can't tell you how silent the room just got.
I texted Kyle earlier in all caps. Kyle, I just came up with an amazing name for my segment tonight. And I was like, I don't know if I want to tell you now or save it, but eye rolls can't be captured by audio, so.
That's it. Can you
Mike just looked so resigned.
right after Erin says no fucking Broadway, can you please just hard cut in just chirping crickets?
I think my audible sigh was enough, Kyle. I don't think we need anything else.
So I did.
Or just dead silent, like drop all the audio and just do like a pin drop.
So I wrote down 4 because I have a chronically like bad memory for I don't remember things that I've talked about or not. And so I wrote down some that I wanted to talk about and was like, I don't know if I've mentioned these before, just talking about ridiculous musicals. So if you've heard of any of these, stop me and I'll sub my extra one in.
Okay.
So our musicals are, number 1, it's called The Saint. Based on the life of professional darts player Alan Taburn, The Saints paints a gritty picture of the struggle to rise to, this is my addition, relative fame as a professional darts player, not real fame. Taburn battles leaving his small town world in Lancashire, England, behind to pursue his passion and defining how much he really can leave behind. So it's like, can he leave his high school sweetheart who's there? Can he leave the small town? The mayor tries to like rope him in because he's famous now. The book was by Tim Rice. It was 2002. And some of the songs I wrote down, Around the World and View by the Sea.
Have you seen all of these?
I haven't, no.
Okay.
But, okay, all but one, which is my substitute in, I at least know the soundtrack of, and the one I haven't is because they never recorded it because it closed after one night.
Okay.
So I wrote down some song titles, but I didn't write down, or I can't tell you the melody of any of them. Right. Number 2 is You're in Town. And it
Wait.
You're in town or like you're in town?
No,
like...
you're in like P.
Okay, cool.
So You're in Town. In a dystopian future, water shortages have led to a corporation controlling all the toilets, which are public toilets, and charging the public to pee. After Old Man Strong is hauled off to Urin Town for like peeing in a bush when he couldn't pay, his son Bobby finds himself leading an uprising against Mr. Cladwell, who leads the corporation that controls all the toilets, and kidnapping Hope, Cladwell's daughter. Billy is killed in the struggle of the revolution, and Hope takes over and wins the rebellion and becomes the new leader, but without regulation, the population largely dies of thirst. The Cheerful musical. The book was by Greg Codis, and some of the songs are Follow Your Heart and Run Freedom Run.
As they would be, yeah.
Yeah. Our third one is Altar Boys. With a Z.
Of course.
So the musical is presented as if it's a concert for a Christian pop group called the Altar Boys. The members are Matthew, Mark, Luke, Juan, and Abraham, who's their Jewish friend.
Okay.
And they sing their famous songs.
Mike, you really like that.
I'm glad you like this one. Well,
I think we found the Catholic in the room.
So they sing through their most famous songs while alluding to discord and problems within the group, and they measure the audience's burdened souls with a soul sensor DX12. The band realizes that their souls are burdened too, and they come clean about the secrets they've hidden from each other, which makes them like grow closer and resolve their issues in the process.
Bullshit,
yeah. The book was by Kevin Del Aguila, and some of the songs were Church Rules, also with a Z,
yeah.
and Something About You, which
I had a silent Z.
No
Something
silent Z,
Zoo.
but Something About You is a love song, and the chorus of it goes, "Girl, you make me want to wait."
Good.
So those are our 3. You haven't heard of any of those, have you?
No.
Okay, good. I want to say the well, I'll tell you when we're done. The other one that I had to sub in.
Okay. And you said you haven't seen any of these?
No, I've seen all. No, I haven't seen You're in Town.
Okay.
But I've listened to the music from it.
Where did you see The Saint?
Broadway, New York.
Okay. Was there anyone famous in it?
Not that I knew.
Okay.
That was one like. It was like I was like a teenager. This is like how I saw many Broadway plays, but I was a teenager and my dad booked it, and it was like, oh, it's really great. It's getting all this Tony buzz and everything, and I thought it was fucking dreadful.
And it's a true story?
Yeah, it's based on
Okay.
the life of this like actual darts player. It's set in like the 90s.
Okay. Mike, I'll let you ask the next question.
Would you like to ask some questions about Altar Boys, Mike? Because I feel like you have some questions.
No question. I think Altar Boys is the one she made up.
Yeah.
I feel like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Juan.
But here's the thing about like
level of
musicals
fun.
and like about like ridiculous shit in general. Urinetown and Altar Boys are so dumb sounding. Like they fucking have to be real. Like the Saint is like, all right.
I believe
like
that the Saint might have been a book, but I don't think maybe it's not a musical because like how are you gonna? Who wants to go to a musical and watch somebody throw darts?
That sounds
like,
so
what the
fucking
fuck?
boring. Like who would want to see that?
It's a drama. It's not like a peppy musical, which
But still, again, who just wants to go watch the guy throw darts on stage? Like,
Does he actually throw darts during a musical? Is there a dart throwing element?
yeah,
mean,
yes,
I would
but I
hope.
wouldn't say that's the center of the action. It's like about his.
Why not?
Well, it's about his life and like his relationships with people more than it's about like watch him throw darts.
Is there a song about the dart throwing though?
There's a song.
Like a pinball wizard type.
Yeah, there's a song about how he plays darts by sense of
at
smell.
darts. I don't know.
No, there's a
full
song.
size.
There's a song about like the big like tournament he has coming,
What's that called?
but I think it was one of the ones I wrote down. Around the world because it's
What's
like
the tournament called?
I don't know. It's like
Fake.
a tournament. It's a tournament in London. Around the world is like a scoring thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a certain way you have to score in the competition to win.
Okay.
It's like you have to score in a certain order or something. I forget what it is, but it's like it's like this around the world tournament, and also like I'm leaving my soul town going to the big city, so I'm like going around it's.
okay, maybe it's not fake
Yeah.
because around the world seems too technical of a term for Erin to.
I like already like know too much about darts just from seeing this fucking show.
All right. I feel like I'm torn between the Saint and Altar Boys.
Really, you don't think Urinetown is?
I don't. I think Urinetown's real because that sounds like it would have been like the plot for a shitty movie, and then like someone's like, "Oh, no one's gonna make this shit." So like,
they put it on Broadway?
Was that Broadway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Urinetown might have been.
It might have
the
been
one-
off Broadway.
That sounds off
but
Broadway as fuck.
It
Yeah.
probably was. That was probably the one that was closed after one night.
It
No.
wasn't. That's the one I didn't read.
I
Do
feel
you
like
guys- do you guys
I
wanna-
thought of the fourth one.
Do you want to hear the fourth one?
I do.
That's definitely real.
Is it definitely real?
Is it?
I don't read it.
Idol, the musical. Based on the popular show American Idol,
Ugh,
No, done.
stop.
Idol follows members of a Clay Aiken fan club who get the opportunity to audition to be Aiken's opening act on a national tour. Adrian, an unsuccessful auditioner for American Idol, coaches JD, Connor, Cicada, Cody, Cass, Alex, and Duncan as they train for the upcoming audition. But the group falls apart before it ever comes. They skip it. They're all high schoolers, by the way. So it skips ahead to their high school graduation day, and the group meets and talks about how they've all changed. And Adrian reveals that the contest was all made up for a joke all along, and it was actually an audition for Clay Aiken's new brand of chicken soup.
That's fake. Clay Aiken doesn't have a fan
That
club.
closed after one night.
Clay Aiken doesn't have a fan club. That can't be real.
He does have a fan club. What are they called? They have a name.
Oh,
Idiots.
and some of the songs were Quakin' for Aiken and Simon Says about Simon Cowell.
Obviously.
Quaking for Aiken.
And the book was by
Fucking
John
kidding me?
Belcourt.
He didn't even win American Idol. Why would they do it about him?
Because now he's into politics.
Well,
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
I'm assuming this was made before that.
I didn't write down the year for that one.
That was closed after one day.
Yeah, it went
Good.
through previews and was in previews for a couple months, and then it like opened for one night and closed because there just like wasn't any interest, like no one bought tickets.
Good.
How many cast members from Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark were in that?
I feel like it must have been before that.
Yeah.
Is that still going? Is that closed? Right?
Uh,
It must
super
have
close,
closed.
yeah.
It was terrible. I saw that too on Broadway. It
That-
was
at
awful.
the
Didn't somebody
time-
die during that?
At the time that was out, it was the #1 leading cause of death in New York.
Okay, guys, let's get back to
Okay. Urinetown, I don't even want to ask. I just believe in my soul it's real.
You just feel it. Your history of watching shitty movies just makes you feel that it's real.
Yeah. Altar Boys. So the soul thing, is that like a prop they use?
Yeah,
It's like a fake gun thing, or?
No, it's not a gun. It's like a like it looks like an amp, I guess. It's like a little box, but there's like a number display on it, and they like turn it on, and it's like beep boop boop boop, and it comes up with a number.
Is there fan interaction? Is there audience interaction during the musical?
They don't ever like bring anyone up on stage.
But is there like, let me hear you?
Well,
whatever,
yeah,
like
they're doing it like it's a concert. So yeah, they're sort of like talking to the audience, or like, oh, like clap along if you know this one, or whatever. Yeah.
Can you read it again? Because I was laughing after you said Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Juan.
Can you skip that part because it's just gonna start fucking laughing? Again?
No,
Sure.
I'll keep it together.
So
maybe
that group sing their most famous songs.
You're gonna make me laugh looking at me like that.
While alluding to discord within the band and measuring the audience's burdened souls with the soul sensor DX12, the band realizes that. Oh, excuse me. The band realizes that their souls are burdened as well and come clean about secrets they've hidden from each other, growing closer again in the process. And deciding to stay together.
You have a question?
No.
Okay.
I'm just confused.
Is there any moment in the musical where it's like they're like behind stage, or is it all like it's acted like it's a concert the entire time?
Yeah.
And they just like realize shit during the concert?
I think it's all on stage. There's one part where Juan, who's adopted, finds out that his birth parents are dead, and he's like supposed to be singing a song, but he's crying, and I think he might like go off stage, but you like hear him like screaming and crying.
How did he find out his birth parents were dead
There,
during the concert?
one of them, I forget who. I'm gonna say Matthew. I don't remember who. Is just like. They're like, oh, we wanted to surprise you, so we like wrote and we found out their names, and we like wrote a letter, and we got this one back, but they hadn't like opened it, so they open it and read it, and they're like, oh, they're now like
They give
at
it to
the
him during a
whatever
concert?
cemetery, yeah,
During a concert, they give it to him.
yeah.
That's fake.
I mean, it's not a real concert. I can tell you that it's not a real concert.
What I'm saying is, like, it's supposed to be a concert. They think they're in a concert. They're like, hey, before we get to our next song, here's a letter about your parents.
They thought they were like surprising him with like a, hey, this is like you're gonna meet your parents, and then it's like, oh, here's the cemetery that they're at.
Here's my thing.
Okay.
That one and You're in Town sound like so purposely subversive that like I feel like they have to be real, and I feel The Saint is so bland sounding
Okay.
that it has to be fake.
Okay.
So my
So you're
vote's
saying
for
The Saint?
My vote's for The Saint.
Okay.
I'm going with,
Altar Boys.
yeah.
Now wait, before you reveal,
Okay.
Mike is the no fucking way champion.
Am I so far?
He's gotten all of them right.
Well,
I?
we've done 2.
Yeah.
And didn't we both vote the same on both of them, or did we split on the second
I think
one?
we split on one of them.
I think we split on the first one,
Then
and I
maybe you
think
got it right and I
and
got
I
it
think
wrong.
the second one he like convinced you it was that one because you thought it was fucking Night of the Lepus the entire
I did
time.
think it was Night of the Lepus.
And I think he convinced you at the end. So Mike is the champion, so I'm a little nervous.
Okay. First of all, okay, he is the champion, and also I'm going to need to. I'll only accept your answers in the form of no fucking Broadway
No.
is blank the real.
No
original.
fucking Broadway is The Saint actual Broadway musical.
Okay. Say it, Mike.
No fucking way am I saying that.
Damn it.
Fine. No fucking Broadway is Altar Boys real. Now, excuse me while I go kill myself for saying that.
I'm so happy I got you guys to say that. I can reveal You're in Town is a real musical,
Yeah.
Good call.
and so is Altar Boys.
Fuck.
Yeah! Look at my balls, Mike!
The Saint was the fake one.
I'm still 2-1, okay?
Although,
I'm
That is
still,
a real darts player, and I looked up all that shit about darts.
It sounded so like researched. I'm like, there's no way Erin fucking like teenage Erin remembered all that dumb shit about a darts player.
I was like pulling shit from like Billy Elliot to talk about that one. I was like, yeah, it's about this small town and like how he's breaking out of it.
It sounded too standard. Like my thing about like all these musicals I hear about are it's like they're failed plots to bad cheap movies. And those both sound like bad plots to failed cheap movies.
I'm going to link you both to the Altar Boys soundtrack. There's one of their secrets is
Mark, Luke,
he's
and Juan.
yeah, and Abraham.
Nobody cares about Abraham, okay?
One of them is like really, he's like very like effeminate and is like clearly in love with one of the other ones. And like, so he's like, okay, well, like I have this secret that I've held back the whole time, and does this whole thing about like, there's this part of me that I've hidden, but like, it's not something I can hide anymore. It's just who I am.
Canadian.
he's Catholic, and the song is about he's just like, oh yeah, like wiping the Ash Wednesday ashes off my forehead so that my friends don't ask questions, and like it's really good, guys. It's really. I saw that.
I was too blinded by that stupid pun that I couldn't see past it.
In fairness, I should have made up a pun about my fake one. That is something I would do.
Oh well, I'm still 2-1. I'm still champion so far.
Catching up.
Yeah. Well, this is the first one Kyle's actually guessed in, so
Yeah.
we need to find a genre that Mike can make up a no fucking video
Batman.
game way or something. Fake Batman.
Fake Batman.
Bruce Wayne,
do fake-
Dick Grayson, Ronald Smith. He was Batman for a while.
Could do made up stories, but you would get it right away.
Probably.
Yeah.
Pick real stories and make one fake one.
I'm like,
Yeah, you would know that.
I feel like I've like talked to at least one of you about You're in Town before too. I was like writing that and I was like,
It
have
didn't
I
sound
like
familiar at all.
No? Okay. Well, maybe I didn't. You guys just forgot it then. It's a great show. I didn't see
And
it.
the
but it's
Clay
a great
Aiken one was the one that closed in one night, not You're in Town.
show. Yep. Oh, also honorable mention. I had ideas that I didn't do, and one of them was there was a Christmas Story musical, like a Christmas Story.
I knew about
They
that,
did
yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, that was like a real one I was going to write about. And there was also
So
I
dumb.
saw the Young Frankenstein musical. It was not good.
Guys, we need to close on this because nothing else will beat it. Clay Aiken fans are referred to as Claymates.
Ugh.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. It's way later than when we started. We'll see you in the next episode.
Death is an option, guys.
Gross.
What?
Everybody, if you enjoy listening to the Sleepy Nerds podcast and want to hear more from us, you can follow us on Facebook at Sleepy Nerds Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter at Sleepy Nerds Pod, and can also subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes.